we just got a note asking, is it possible that Jeff Sessions was a shill for big tobacco at one point? Yeah, it turns out he was, at least according to the DuckDuckGo machine, the search engines. Norman in Nokomis, Florida. Am I saying that right, Norman?
Yeah, Nokomis. No shoes, no shirt, Nokomis. Except the
I love it.
Warming has got it too cold. But hey, listen, Tom.
Yeah.
I would rather have a monopoly running things than a government. I think the people could decide with their dollars who's actually running things. Where when you install some kind of big government, one world thing, it's just too hard to get rid of that. There's been monopolies and dynasties going on since the dawn of time, one form or another. They come and they go, and it just so what if somebody's running stuff? If the government needs ships built, they go to a shipbuilder and they get ships built for a price. If they don't like that price, they go to another shipbuilder, get another price. If you get a government that says, well, we're going to build ships on our own and hire government employees, then you don't have any competition that way either. So you're forsaking one monopoly.
Norman, your sales pitch is pretty much the exact sales pitch that David Koch was running on in 1980 in the Libertarian ticket. And it's that government is bad, corporations are good, you can trust corporations. But the reality is that the government that we have, which millions or hundreds of thousands, certainly, I believe millions of Americans have literally fought and died to create and protect. That George Washington had 3 horses shot out from underneath him trying to create. This government should be of, by, and for, to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, we the people. And corporations are never of, by, and for we the people. Corporations are always of, by, and for the profit. And there's nothing wrong with that intrinsically unless it is absolutely unregulated, which is the direction that we've been moving since Reagan stopped enforcing the Sherman Antitrust Act in 1983. And that logic chain, what the Koch brothers are basically saying is the government is terrible. You can't trust yourself to govern yourself. So we will govern for you by controlling the economy. It's the economy is more important than democracy. The marketplace is more important than democracy. And frankly, Norman, that's BS. It is a lie that the billionaires have gotten you to believe and gotten, frankly and sadly, a lot of Americans to believe. And once you go down that road, if you get rid of our government and you replace it with a bunch of monopolistic corporations, then you have lost all your freedom. The only thing that is standing between you and absolute corporate subjection, as we had when our government was weak prior to the 1910s, basically, was corporate rule. You had employees. I mean, look at the Ludlow massacre. People tried to, in the 1880s in Colorado, they said that, we're going to go on strike. We want to have decent wages. And what did the railroad do? They brought in machine guns and shot up not just the railroad workers, but their families in the tents that they were sleeping in. The Pullman Porter strike, the Haymarket Square riots. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. If you get the government out of the way, what's going to happen is corporations are going to paraphrase Grover Cleveland, President of the United States in 1886, in his State of the Union address in either 86 or 87, 1886 or 1887, he said, "The iron heel of industry is upon the neck of the average American." He was talking about the railroad monopolies. And because they set their prices wherever they want. This country was birthed in opposition to monopoly. The biggest corporation on earth was the British East India Company in 1773. And in 1773, when the government of Britain, well, frankly, when there was a recession, the Great Panic of 1770, there was a recession going on, and the East India Company had had millions of pounds of tea in their warehouses in the UK that they couldn't get rid of. They couldn't sell the stuff. And they had already paid taxes on it, because at that time they paid taxes once they brought it into their warehouse. So the British government, with the Tea Act of 1773, said, you don't have to pay your taxes on this tea. In fact, we will refund the money to you. And the British government gave the East India Company what in today's money would be billions of dollars in tax refunds. And then the East India Company used that money to bring that tea to the United States at a discount and try to put out of business the small entrepreneurs up and down the East Coast who were running tea shops and importing their own tea. And the entrepreneurs of America, the citizens of America, were so outraged about the fact that this giant transnational corporation was trying to just, wipe out all these small businesses, because back in 1773, every other block had a tea shop on it. And the entrepreneurs of America were so outraged about this that they committed $1 million, in today's dollars, $1 million act of sabotage, of vandalism, throwing that tea in Boston Harbor. And that Boston Tea Party in the late fall, early winter of 1773 led directly to the American Revolution of 1776. That was the point. A year before that, Thomas Jefferson had written a pamphlet called The Rights of British Americans, encouraging Americans to be good British citizens. 3 months after the Tea Party revolt against a transnational corporation, Thomas Jefferson was saying, time for us to become independent of Great Britain, because they're supporting these giant monopolistic corporations. You cannot trust giant monopolistic corporations. They are accountable to nothing except the dollar. And you will not have enough power, enough political or economic power to boycott them. You can't control them through boycotts. It doesn't work. Particularly when they end up controlling you want insulin, and the price of insulin goes from $70 to $240 in 5 years? Simply because a company has a monopoly on a product that was invented in the 1880s? It's crazy. It's just crazy. We do need government. We just need to get the money from these corporations and the billionaires that they created out of our government. And then we can actually have a government of, by, and for we the people. It's really that simple.